Good evening. Welcome back to the Horror, Metal, and Comics channel. I'm Lord Hellhound, and I just saw the most recent entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Fantastic Four First Steps. Yeah, obviously starring the Fantastic Four, one of my favorite superhero teams, consisting of Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, Johnny Storm, aka Human Torch, Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, and of course, the Invisible Woman. Why, I have the figure right here, but she's invisible. Yeah, so. So anyway, alright, so yeah, before I get started, let me just say that, definitely check the description below, because I might think of other, things I want to talk about, other key points about the movie that I might forget during this video. I may list some more things to say about it the more as I think of them, which is what I did with my Superman videos. So yeah, check the description. I cannot stress that enough. I did the same thing with my Superman video. I listed more things more of my thoughts about the movie in the description. So anything I'll leave out will be in the description. So please check that after this video. Also, I am going to go into spoilers, but I'll give you plenty of warning before I do so. I have a lot to talk about, and a lot of the things that I need to comment on are definitely going to be spoilers for sure. Let's see, where do I begin? I'll try to keep it spoiler free for as long as I can. First of all, let me just say that I did enjoy the movie. I did really like it. I had a few issues, and maybe I should start by talking about what I thought about the previous Fantastic Four movies. So there's the 90s Roger Corman one, which I don't even really count that. It was like, I don't know, illegally filmed or something and unfinished, and I haven't even seen the whole thing, so let's just skip over that. The 2005 movie, I'm in the minority where I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't hate it. I do think it is a bad movie, but it's kind of enjoyably bad. Ioan Gruffudd as Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, really looked like him. He really looked like his comic counterpart. They could have found somebody who looked more like Mr. Fantastic from the comics. He really resembled him really well, even more so than all the other actors who play him, including Pedro Pascal in this movie, which we'll get to in a minute. But performance-wise, he was okay. Him and Jessica Alba as Invisible Woman had horrible chemistry. Like, it was just vomit-inducing. It was worse than Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst in Spider-Man 3. But he did look the part. Jessica Alba was, she's okay as Invisible Woman. I think the real, but the cast was really well. Human Torch and The Thing were really well cast. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, Michael Chiklis as The Thing, and Chris Evans as Human Torch, who of course would go on to play Captain America. They were both great. They had great chemistry. I think they were definitely the strong points of the movie. But it was way too cheesy and campy. And Julian McMahon, who recently died, rest in peace, was an okay Doctor Doom, but I feel like it was done way too similar to the Willem Dafoe Green Goblin in the first Spider-Man movie. Then, of course, it was followed by a sequel, Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, which was even worse. But I think that one's kind of enjoyably bad, too. Both of those are kind of guilty pleasures. Like, I think they're enjoyable enough. They're just a little too silly and cartoony. And then, of course, there was the awful 2015 film with Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan and Toby Kebbell and all them. That one was just dark, depressing, joyless, and unpleasant, and it changed things way too much. They screwed up Doctor Doom so many times. It was much worse in this one. That movie's just really, really bad, and I shouldn't have even went to see it because I knew it was going to suck, but that was just awful. I'd much rather watch the 2005 film and its 2007 sequel than sit through that crap ever again. If they called it something else and it wasn't a Fantastic Four adaptation, it would have been okay, but overall, it was terrible. So I will say that this one is definitely the best one. Obviously, I knew it would be. I could just tell by the trailers, and of course, it is part of the MCU. And I knew that they just had to get it right. I feel like they had to. Like screwing it up again wasn't an option because that'd been really bad. It's funny how they attempt to do it like every 10 years. The 2005 film, the 2015 film. Now it's 2025. Every 10 years they try again to adapt the Fantastic Four. And this one was definitely the best one. I do have some issues, which I'll get to in a minute. Let's go and look at the cast. So a lot of people were saying Pedro Pascal was miscast before they even saw the movie. He's a great actor. He's awesome in The Mandalorian. And he was pretty good in Wonder Woman 1984. I think he was probably one of the highlights of that movie, although it could have been a lot better. I think he ended up being pretty good. He was a good Mr. Fantastic. He was a good leader, and he was, obviously portrays really intelligent, brilliant scientist. They did that part well. Spurting forth all kinds of techno babble, scientific, formulas and stuff, and they really did show that he was really intelligent. He didn't make stupid mistakes like the Ione Gruffud version in the 2005 2007 films. So there was one thing that he did which I thought was kind of strange, but we'll get to that in the spoiler section. Vanessa Kirby was Invisible Woman. I think she did a good job too. Both her and Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, were a little too serious through a lot of the movie, especially Reed. He hardly ever smiled, but I think that was kind of the idea. I always kind of found the Mr. Fantastic character kind of boring. He just kind of has the the goody leader thing going on, kind of like Cyclops from the X-Men. He's just Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. He's just a brilliant scientist, and he's the leader. And I think that the Human Torch and the Thing, which are both of my top 10 favorite Marvel heroes of all time, were always the more interesting characters. And Sue Storm too. She was Invisible Woman. Sue Storm, played by Vanessa Kirby, was a little more. She wasn't quite as serious as Pedro Pascal's Mr. Fantastic, but maybe that was the idea. Maybe the scientist types are supposed to be like that. They were sometimes it kind of seemed like their acting came across as a little wooden, but I think it's kind of the way it was written. But overall, I think both of them came out okay. As always, the Thing and the Human Torch, like I already said, were the more interesting characters. Ebon Moss Backrack, I believe is his name, played Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. I liked how he didn't spend the whole movie, wanting to be normal again. I just want to be an ordinary human again. They spent too much time with that, which was understandable. I mean, anybody who became a, enormous rock creature probably would want to be back to be an ordinary human, especially kids he can't, unlike the Hulk, he can't, go back and forth. He can't turn it off. You can't transform back into human, back into a rock creature overall. He can't turn his powers on and off like the other three can. The other three members of the Fantastic Four. And I liked what he did finally. Well, that might be a spoiler. Hold on. Let's save that for later. Then finally we had Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch. And the only other performance I've seen of him, of course, was Eddie from Stranger Things, aka me from high school. He was just like me from high school. That was the only other performance I've seen him. It was in Stranger Things. Then we also had Julia Garner, who played the Silver Surfer. It was the Shala Ball incarnation of the Silver Surfer, so it wasn't the original Norrin Rad version. And I do kind of wish that he had been in the movie too. Maybe they wanted to make it different from Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer and have a different Silver Surfer in it. Shala Ball was kind of Norrin Rad's girlfriend through most of the comics and stuff. It would be cool if they had both of them, a male and female Silver Surfer, but it's fine. She ended up being very memorable, and they're probably saving Norrin Rad for a future movie. Maybe he'll show up in Avengers Doomsday. Avengers Doomsday, getting tongue-tied, or Avengers Secret Wars, or maybe both. So it would have been cool to have both of them. But Shala Ball ended up being portrayed really well. I want to say that the CGI and the look of the Silver Surfer was done a little better in the 2007 sequel to the 2005 film, but maybe it's because she had to have a more complex design. She has hair and stuff, and a more obviously a womanly shape. So maybe it was a little harder to pull off. It's kind of hard to make hair look good, when they're a metallic being. And she's the Herald of Galactus, in the trailer, like the Norrin Rad version was in the 2007 film. Like I said, it'd been cool to see both of them, but they're probably saving him for a future movie. And she ended up being really cool and memorable, and I really want to see more of her in future installments. But we'll get to that a little later. You've seen the trailer. She comes to the planet and warns them and says, she's the Herald of Galactus. He's going to devour the planet, blah, blah, blah. And he wants the Fantastic Four to surrender their newborn son, Franklin Richards, who, if you're a Marvel Comics fan, you'll know that he becomes one of the most powerful characters in Marvel. And I'm sure they're saving him for future movies, too. Absolutely. I'm sure that's being set up for future installments. But overall, the cast was good. Like I said, sometimes Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby were a little too serious, especially Pedro Pascal as Reed. But it worked. It was fine. It's funny because you could tell they were trying to differentiate from the other movies a whole lot, which is probably a good thing, but there was a few things that they had in common with them. There were some things that they kind of treaded on familiar ground. This isn't an origin story at all, and I know that most superhero movies nowadays seem to be avoiding an origin story, and I'm glad they didn't just spend the whole time, showing them, getting their powers and getting used to their powers and stuff. Though I would have liked to see a little more of that. Like, we had, like, montages of it, and they did kind of show the origin, like, a brief, abridged flashback, which is kind of what I wish they would have done more of in, like, the 2008 Incredible Hulk, because that was very rushed. They just showed bits and pieces of his origin. It was way too, like, glossed over. And the MCU version of Spider-Man, I would have loved, like, I know they didn't want to do the origin story yet again and show him discovering his powers, but what a good hold. They had, like, just a 2-minute scene of the spider on its web getting hit by the radioactive beam and then biting Peter Parker. It was a 2-minute scene, it would have been cool, because I feel like we missed something. But in this one, we do, like I said, we do get flashbacks. It kind of shows them before they go to space. It shows them, it doesn't really show the cosmic force, the storm, really very well. It shows them get their powers. It doesn't really show them getting used to their powers and learning to use them either. Kind of like Superman, they kind of just throw us right into the movie. They've been superpowered heroes for a long time, and like Superman, they kind of gloss over that part and throw you right in. Superman kind of felt like it was like the second film in the series, and this one kind of does too. It kind of feels like, we're supposed to already know these characters and be familiar with them. They're already established. So I would have liked a little more time seeing them get used to their powers and, like, how to use them and stuff. But maybe it's because we already saw too much of that in the previous movies, I guess. Let me just get out of the way. As for which one I prefer between this and Superman, they both came out so close together. I think I do prefer Superman overall, like, ever so slightly. I think I had a better time with that one. There's a lot going on in that movie. This one, there's kind of a lot going on too, but there's more of a straightforward story, and there's not too many supporting characters, which wasn't like a problem in Superman or anything, but it was a very crowded movie. Yeah, this one, like, the four heroes are the focus, and then, the only other characters that get, a lot of screen time are the Shalabal Silver Surfer, like I said, played by Julia Garner, and Galactus, who's the main villain, of course. You've seen him in the trailer. You've seen him walking and stuff. So yeah, I do like Superman a little more, but this movie was still pretty good. I haven't had it totally sink in yet. Maybe the more I think about it, maybe it'd be more equal. I'm not going to spend the whole review comparing this to Superman or anything, though. But like I said, this did kind of tell a more coherent, straightforward story. Superman did get a little bit crowded sometimes. I think I had maybe more problems with Superman, which see that video for more info and read the description, than I had with this one. I think I found it a little more entertaining and enjoyable. Yeah, okay, so yeah, before going into spoilers, this one takes place on Earth 828, which is another dimension, another universe in the multiverse, which we've already established with movies like Spider-Man No Way Home and, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, previous Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And I think the 828 thing is a reference to Jack Kirby, the great comic book artist, Jack Kirby, rest in peace. His birthday, August 28th. Yeah, he was a great creator and a legendary figure in the world of comics, for sure, for both Marvel and DC. So yeah, I think 828 was a reference to that, August 28th, his birthday. Let's see. Yeah, like I said, Reed was too serious. He barely smiled. He barely used his stretch powers until maybe towards the end, which we'll get into more of the spoilers. In fact, kind of the whole team didn't, except for Johnny Storm, Human Torch, played by Joseph Quinn, getting tongue-tied again. He used his flame on, his fiery powers a whole lot in the movie. We really saw a lot of him, flying around and using his flames and stuff. The rest of the characters, we didn't really see them fully utilize their abilities until the end. We didn't see much of, like, the Thing, his super strength and stuff, just a few scenes. Like, there was montages and, like, flashbacks and news reports, and it's cool how, like, they're the only superheroes in this universe, and the universe was done pretty well. It was interesting. It was kind of retro and kind of futuristic at the same time. It actually kind of reminded me of the world that the recent Superman movie created a little bit, too. It was kind of cool. Kind of felt like the 1960s, but, like, modern day at the same time. They had cool things like the Fantastic Four is world famous and everybody loves them. Everybody celebrates them. They're the only heroes in this reality, allegedly. And like there's even a cartoon 60s style that they keep showing. I don't know if it was the actual 60s cartoon or just like a recreation of it. It kind of looked a little more modern. You can kind of tell the difference. I'm thinking the latter. I'm thinking like it was a modern recreation, but I could be wrong. It could have been actual footage from the 60s cartoon. I haven't watched that in years, so I don't really remember. So yeah, let's see. Um, yeah, like I said, a lot of people thought Pedro Pascal was miscast, and he did win me over. He did win me over. Sorry. He didn't really resemble the character in the comics as much as Ion Gruffin did, but that's not a big deal. I wish he could at least shave the mustache, but oh well. He did kind of have the grayish streaks in his hair. I noticed, which I didn't notice that seeing the trailer, but watching the movie, I did. Um, where the 2005 movie and its 2007 sequel were a little too campy, comedic, cheesy, and cartoonish, and the 2015 was too dark, gritty, joyless, unpleasant, just depressing and ugly. This movie was kind of more of a happy medium. It had a lot of serious, dramatic moments, but did have a fun factor too. There were some humorous moments, some jokes, mostly from The Thing and Human Torch, like you would suspect. Did they ever refer to them as their superhero names in this? Like in the Fantastic Four comics, like everybody knows who they are. And it's like this in this movie too. That's kind of how it is with most of the MCU too. Like everybody knows Tony Stark's Iron Man and Steve Rogers is Captain America and so on and so forth. Yeah, they always call themselves by their names. Reed, Sue, Johnny, Ben. I don't know if they ever used. I want to say that Human Torch did call Ben the Thing a couple times. Pretty sure. But I can't remember if the others used their monikers or not. Maybe like in the news reports when people were talking about them. Yeah, there wasn't much of a supporting cast, like I said. Yeah, it was a good balance between like serious drama and humor. There wasn't a whole lot of jokes, like some of the other MCU movies for sure. But there was some lighthearted moments for sure. It wasn't all dark and dreary and depressing, which was good, but it wasn't really overly silly either. Though, like I said, there were some some comedic moments for sure. Galactus looked great. Yeah, you've probably seen him in the trailer. Way better, way more comic accurate and way better looking than the giant feces cloud from Rise of the Silver Surfer. That was awful. Yeah, he looked great. Yeah, the CGI. Some people were complaining about the CGI. I read like snippets of a few other reviews, some excerpts, and some people were saying the CGI didn't look good. I thought it looked fine. I mean, about as well as I would expect. I knew they weren't going to use a whole lot of practical effects. Also, the Thing looks pretty good. The design looked great, way better than the 2015 film. I knew that they weren't going to use practical effects in a costume like they did in the 2005 movie, which I thought he looked good in that too. But he probably looked even better here, even though it was CGI, and I knew it would be, and that's fine, no big deal. Yeah, when Galactus walked through the city, like again we saw in the trailer, it kind of reminded me and my wife, who saw it with me, we both went and saw it. Kind of reminded us of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters, and maybe kind of the Statue of Liberty from Ghostbusters 2. But anyway, let's see. Is there anything else I need to mention before I go into spoilers? Yeah, like I said, I'm glad the Thing didn't just spend his entire. I'm glad his entire character wasn't. Oh, I want you to turn me back to normal, Reed. Yeah. Let's see what else. Okay, I think that's it. All right, let's go ahead and get into some spoilers. All right, so I'm going to spoil the whole movie, even the post-credit and mid-credit scene. Okay, so you have been warned. If you have not seen the movie yet, turn the video off at this point. Okay, spoiler alert. All right, so here we go. Here's some spoilers. Okay, so they showed some clips, some news reports of some of the Fantastic Four's past battles with enemies. Like I said, they're already established heroes in this, just like in this recent Superman movie. And they actually showed a shot of them fighting a giant monster, I think created by the Mole Man, just like in the comic, that was identical to the cover of the first issue of Fantastic Four. Yeah, this one right here. It looked just like that. That is freaking cool. I love it when comic book movies do stuff like that. That was awesome. Yeah, they show some of their past battles with other villains, like the Mole Man and a few others. I think even the ventriloquist at one point, if you blink, you'll miss it. And let me also say, before I get into serious spoilers, that I was kind of thinking, I love superhero movies. They're pretty much the only movies that I force myself to go see in theaters. It's like a mandatory viewing. But I was kind of thinking that there wasn't much more you can do with the formula. However, the recent Superman movie and this one really proved me wrong. It was just like, Avengers Endgame or Spider-Man No Way Home or even Deadpool and Wolverine. I think this movie is like the best comic book movie since like those and stuff for Marvel. So yeah, the Mole Man's in it. Yeah, it shows that they defeat him and his underground, his underground lair and stuff, and his all his creatures under there that he has control over. Then he shows up a few times. He doesn't really resemble the Mole Man from the comics, except for the visor that he wears, I guess, to protect his eyes since he lives underground. He's not used to seeing a lot of light. Yeah, they didn't really use him very much, admittedly. Like I said, the supporting cast didn't have much to do. They were all really brief, minor characters. Yeah, he was a little too comedic. Kind of reminded me of MODOK from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. But that wasn't a big deal. Like I said, he wasn't like a major character. I kind of wish he was a little more comic accurate, but I guess it wouldn't really work if they had a whole movie fighting him as a villain. Maybe he's not big and grandiose enough, though he did show his giant drill machine and stuff. I think they could at least have him as like a supporting antagonist. But in this one, spoiler alert, once again, this one he kind of joins them. It kind of helps them. He kind of aids them and assists them a little bit in the movie. They don't really do a whole lot with that. Yeah, I would like some more scenes of them getting used to their powers and stuff, but like they threw us right into it. This is not an origin story. Like that part's glossed over. I did think that a few things were a little too rushed. Like they threw us into it. They're like, okay, now this is happening. Okay, now this is happening. No, this is going to happen. Like kind of the same problem that I had with the Superman movie. I'm sorry to keep comparing those, but they came out so close together, and they're both really fresh in my mind. And they were similar in a lot of ways, like I said. All right, so some other spoilers. I love that, when they showed the old cartoons and stuff, I love that the Thing actually did say it's clobbering time. Like, he did it reluctantly. Like, the Human Torch had to force him to say it. We all knew that he wasn't just going to come out and say it. I guess that would have been too cheesy or whatever, but I love that he did say the line. That's really cool. It was cool when he said it in the 2005 film, too, when he went up against Dr. Doom. So, let's see, what else? All right, here's another huge spoiler. So, yeah, like I said, Galactus is after their son, Franklin Richards, who, like I said, becomes one of the most powerful characters in Marvel once he gets older and stuff. I know they're saving that for another movie. Galactus is after him because he's powerful and holds the, what did he call it? The cosmic force, the power cosmic, I think. Because he can, like, absorb his power and make him not as hungry. He doesn't have to devour worlds anymore or something. I don't know. They don't really go into a lot of detail. They kind of... he has a conversation with the Shalabal Silver Surfer, and they kind of explain it a little bit, but they don't go into too much detail. I knew that, at the end, like, they're trying to... Reed Richards has built, like, this machine that's going to teleport Galactus, like, in the middle of nowhere in the universe to where he can't travel back. He's without his ship and stuff. And, like, at the end, Human Torch, like, this is for people who have watched the movie, so if you haven't watched the movie yet, tisk, I'm going to spoil it. The Human Torch is flying towards Galactus. He's about to knock him through the portal or whatever, and he's like, tell Franklin his uncle loves him or whatever. He's the uncle of Sue Storm's and Reed Richards' son, Franklin, because he's Sue's brother. I love that he had blonde hair too, by the way. That was really comic accurate and really cool. Unlike Chris Evans in the 2005 film, in 2007, but just a minor thing, but it's still pretty cool. Where was I going with this? Okay, so he's rushing towards Galactus, and he's going to sacrifice himself. I knew that the Shalabal Silver Surfer would have a change of heart and turn good, and be the one that pushes the Galactus into the portal at the last minute. She pushes Human Torch out of the way and goes into Galactus and gets warped in the portal with him. That was very similar to Rise of the Silver Surfer, because, Silver Surfer, the Norrin Rad original incarnation, is kind of the one that stopped Galactus and sacrificed himself in that movie too. And also, Sue also sacrifices herself. She uses way too much of her force field power. She doesn't use her invisibility a whole lot, but she uses her force fields quite a bit. And she uses that to help push Galactus into the portal, and it kills her, but then she's healed by her son, Franklin Richards, who, like I said, is all powerful and has all kinds of unique, amazing powers that we don't even know about yet in the movie universe yet. Anyway, that reminded me of Rise of the Silver Surfer 2, because Jessica Alba's Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, sacrificed herself and then was healed by the Silver Surfer in that movie. And yeah, there was a lot of story structure that was similar to those movies I noticed. Not very many similarities with the 2015 version, thankfully, because that was garbage. But yeah, that reminded me of it. And there's also a lot of scenes of them sitting around talking, and not a whole lot of scenes of them saving people or like battling evil until the very end. That was another thing that was like the 2005 movie in its sequel. Like it's weird how they always do that in Fantastic Four movies. I know there's a lot more to them, like then it's not, even in the comics, it's not all about action and fights. There's a lot of drama and character development and like interactions between them, which is what I like. That was my favorite part of the Avengers and the Justice League movie. Just the characters, all the heroes like interacting and playing off each other and, you know, having their own individual distinct personalities and, you know, just the bond and the relationship between them all. That was done very, very well in this. But it's just funny how every Fantastic Four movie is kind of like that. They don't really all use their powers and fight a big villain and save the world till the very end when we really see them utilize their powers. Yeah, Reed Richards hardly ever did his stretching until the climax, until the finale, when he used it a lot. And Galactus even pulls him like he's gonna pull him apart, stretches him really, really wide, like starts ripping his shirt and stuff before he's saved by Human Torch. The Thing didn't do a whole lot. Towards the end, it was mostly Invisible Woman and the Shallabal Silver Surfer who defeated Galactus. With of course Human Torch like helping too. Yeah, Reed and the Thing didn't do a whole lot, but the Thing did use his strength to like take out some pillars of a building. I think to kind of knock Galactus into the portal that they created so they can warp him, you know, somewhere else. And yeah, the Shallabal Silver Surfer went with him. It didn't show her like in a post-credit scene or anything, but I'm sure that wherever she warps, she still has her board, so she can come back. She can survive it. Like I said, I would like to see her in future installments of the MCU. Preferably teamed up with the Norrin Rad version. That'd be really cool. Maybe he's like in another universe. Maybe he's in the main universe, you know, Earth 616, which is where most of the continuity in the Marvel Comics takes place. I think they established that in the MCU as well. So maybe he's in another universe and they're saving him. But it'd be cool to see both of them teamed up. I think that'd be really awesome because they did that sometimes in the comics and it was cool. So yeah, I'm sure C survived. I'm sure we're going to see more of her, which I hope we do. I thought Julia Garner did a good job, you know. It did remind me a lot of the Silver Surfer in the 2007 film too, though, like I said. But it was different enough. So yeah, it kind of had a very similar story structure. But like I said, Galactus was way better and way more comic accurate in this movie. But yeah, Sue dying and being healed reminded me of that. And like all kinds of other things reminded me of that. But it was different enough. They did do a lot with it. And like I said, it was pretty fresh and original. You know, like I said, I thought that superhero movies, there wasn't a lot more you could do with them that hasn't already been done several times before. But this one definitely did. This one definitely kind of kept me second guessing. It was a lot of things that I wasn't expecting. It felt different enough. But it's just funny how they don't really team up and unite and use their powers, you know, to the max until like the climax. But it's fine, you know, they didn't have to spend too much time on that. It's better than the 2015 film when we just saw them using their powers through like a TV screen or a computer monitor, and then, that was just a train wreck. But anyway, I'll try not to compare it too much to that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing more. You know, it even says, during the credits, it says, Fantastic Four will return in Avengers Doomsday, which is cool. Every time I say that word, I get tongue-tied. So it's going to be cool seeing them teamed up with other Marvel characters. That's what I've always wanted from the MCU. It took them a long time to finally get the Fantastic Four. They definitely did get it right this time, or at least they came closest to it out of all the live-action movies. Then, of course, there's going to be Avengers Secret Wars, which should be cool, too. I'm sure they'll be in that. I'm sure that the Silver Surfer will be in that, whichever version. Hopefully both, because that'd be cool, like I said. There's also going to be Spider-Man Brand New Day coming up. I think that's going to be before Avengers Doomsday. And I suppose it's going to have the Punisher and Daredevil in it. That's pretty cool. I loved when Spider-Man and Daredevil teamed up in the comics. And yeah, the Punisher being a cool one. Apparently it's going to have the Hulk, which I'm always excited to see him. He's one of my favorite characters. I wish he'd get another solo movie, but it's always great to see him in other movies. And apparently the Scorpion's going to be the villain, which is what I've been wanting. I've been wanting that ever since the first MCU Spider-Man film, Homecoming. I've been wanting to see the Scorpion, because they did have Matt Gargan in that movie. You know, not as his supervillain guise, but just as his ordinary Matt Gargan self. And he had a scorpion tattoo, and so we're going to see him become the supervillain, the Scorpion, in that movie. That's going to be really cool. I've been wanting the Scorpion to be the villain, you know, since then. I thought he would be in the next movie when it ended up being Mysterio, which was cool. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to some of these other MCU movies. I skipped over quite a few of them. I didn't watch the Marvels. I didn't watch the Eternals. I didn't watch the Thunderbolts. I still haven't seen Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I really need to. I was kind of bummed out that you know, Prince T'Challa, Black Panther himself, wasn't in it because, you know, Chadwick Boseman passed away, sadly, rest in peace. But it has but the Submariner is in it, Prince Namor, and he's a really cool character, so I really need to see that. I can't believe I still haven't seen it yet. I need to do that. Yeah, shame on me. You know, I love the first one. And yeah, there's a couple others I didn't see. Yeah, some of them I wasn't really that interested in, but yeah, Fantastic Four is one of the big names, and they're one of my favorite. They're some of my favorite characters from Marvel, so I had to see this one for sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. The rest, I was kind of getting a little tired of the MCU, and it's kind of having a little bit of fatigue from it. But this movie has really renewed my interest, and the upcoming ones, like I mentioned, should be are definitely. I'm really interested in seeing too. All right, so yeah. Oh yeah, before I forget, okay, so first of all, there's a post-credit scene, and all it is somebody watching the like the 60s style cartoon that they made of them. Yeah, then the robot Herbie, yeah, he's in this. He was in the comics. He was in one of the cartoons too. Yeah, then he turns it off. So that post-credit scene kind of went nowhere. It kind of reminded me of the post-credit scene in Superman, where it's just a kind of a MCU Joss Whedon style joke. That's kind of what this was too. So it's like, why did we wait 15, 20 minutes for this? But the mid-credit scene, shows Doctor Doom briefly. We don't really see him very long. We just see Sue walk in the room, and then we see Doctor Doom kneeling. Yeah, he's got his green cloak on, and he's holding his metal mask with Franklin Richards, who's 4 years old at this point. 4 years have passed since the events of the movie with that mid-credit scene. So I guess I should talk real quick about what I think about Robert Downey Jr. being cast as Doctor Doom. I mean, it remains to be seen. I guess we'll see what they do with it, but I don't like it because I feel like they're inevitably going to make it to where he's another version of Tony Stark from another dimension. Maybe even has the same origin, like the terrorists captured him, and instead of becoming the heroic Iron Man when he escapes, he becomes the bitter, scorned Doctor Doom who uses technology to escape and becomes a villain. Or maybe they're going to have it to where Tony Stark, at the end of Endgame, like when he did the snap to defeat Thanos and his army, like it didn't kill him, but it scarred him and made him become Doctor Doom. I want to see Victor Von Doom. We've seen the character screwed up too much. I want to see him properly done now. They didn't do him properly in the 2005 and 2007 film, and definitely not the 2015 film. Every time they make him part of the accident that gives the Fantastic Four their powers, it gives him powers too. That's not Doctor Doom. That's not Victor Von Doom. They did another reference to him early in the movie too. I want to see a properly done Victor Von Doom. I don't want to see an evil Tony Stark from another dimension, and I know they're going to do that. And also Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, Iron Man is their most marketable character in the MCU, so they're probably going to show him without his helmet, without his mask through most of it. The MCU cannot stand to show characters in their mask for too long. They always have to take their helmet off or their mask and talk, which is fine. You can see their facial expressions and their the way they talk and stuff. It's different from the comics. Movies are obviously a different medium from the comics, and they want to utilize their actors. So I understand. But overall, I'm not a big fan of the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom, because I know that he's going to be an evil Tony Stark from another universe. And even if he's not, even if he is Victor Von Doom, like, why is he going to look like Tony Stark? I know they're going to do something with that. They're probably going to have Peter Parker, Spider-Man say, oh no, now my former mentor is now, my new enemy's wearing the face of my former mentor. They can do interesting things with that, yes. And I think it is an interesting idea, sure. But like after seeing Doctor Doom screwed up so many times, I really want to see a properly done comic accurate version of him, because he's such a great villain. One of the best in Marvel and one of the best in comic book history. So, anyway, I guess I'm kind of going off on a tangent and rambling, but I did want to talk about that a little bit in a video. So I'm trying to kind of kill two birds with one stone here. But anyway, yeah, this video is already at the 33-minute mark. I didn't mean for it to be that long. My Superman video was like 40 minutes, so I think a lot of people were turned off by the length of that, the runtime. So it's probably going to be the same thing with the video. So I guess I'm going to wrap it up. I think I mentioned everything I wanted to say, but like I said, definitely check the description, because I might think of some more things I want to talk about. I'll mention them in the description, just like I did with my Superman video. But anyway, all right. So what did you guys think of the most recent entry in the MCU? If you saw it, what did you think of the Fantastic Four First Steps? Did you like it better than the other movies like I did? Did you think that did it kind of reignite your interest in the MCU like it did for me? I knew it was going to be, I figured it was going to be really good, and I did enjoy it, like I said. Aside from a few minor flaws, some plot lines being rushed, some subplots that didn't go anywhere, some things that I wanted to see more of. Like I said, if I think of any more criticisms or things that I enjoyed about the movie, I'll listen to the description. But all right, guys, well, as always, thank you for watching the horror, metal, and comics channel. I'm Lord Hellhound, and until next time, later.